This video reminds us of so much, doesn't it? This time of year, we get all caught up in the shopping and the decorating and the parties and the baking and all the things that seem to go along with Christmas, that we oftentimes forget what the true meaning is. Today I want to talk about what that true meaning is supposed to be. And during communion, there will be a little bit of a change, in as much as I will be giving each of you a nail when you come forward. And I'm going to say, remember. And my hope is that you will all return that with, I remember. We need to get away from the hustle and bustle. Not that that's a bad thing, but we need to only do that when we remember that all of this is for the reason of Jesus Christ and showing the love. So let me ask you, next. You know that even the Jewish religious leaders missed it because they were expecting something else. They were looking for a military leader who may have already been grown up that could come in and bring all of the Jewish clans together and bring back the glory days of King David 1,000 years earlier. I'll do it, Jeff. They were looking for someone who possibly came from the royal family or the royal bloodline that the current Jewish King Herod family. They were looking for someone who had already proven their might, wisdom, and power to the people of Israel and could be anointed the Messiah and lead them out of their woes. The closest person the Jews had for the Messiah was possibly King David 1,000 years earlier. However, the major and minor prophets of the Old Testament who called for this new Messiah came after King David, so obviously he couldn't have been the one. When Jesus came to a 14-year-old poor little girl, was not from a priestly religious family, was not politically powerful family, was not from the influential wealthy family. It threw him off. Sometimes, like we get thrown off with everything going on in our lives, and we go away from what the true meaning is. The Jewish leaders missed the whole idea of the coming of the Messiah, the baby Jesus. So even those who had direct knowledge of the Old Testament missed it. The religious leaders, they missed it. We can miss it as well because we get wrapped up in all the other stuff. So let's ask, who gets it? 7 to 8 months earlier, Mary got it when she was told by the angel that she would have a child. Talks about that in Luke 1, verses 26 through 38. It's an amazing story. Joseph, her husband, was probably the second to know, because another angel came to Joseph and asked him to not divorce or leave Mary, that he should raise this child as an adoptive parent. It talks about that in Matthew 1, verses 18 through 25. And in Luke 36 through 56, Elizabeth, the cousin of Mary, knew that the baby was of divine conception and birth. The lowly shepherds in the fields, watching their flocks by night, they were greeted by the heavenly host of angels, as it tells us in Luke 8, verses 8 through 20. The Magi from the east, we're told, through Matthew 1 through 12. And there were two elderly individuals, Anna and Simeon. Tells us about them in Luke 2, verses 22 through 38. And it might be noted that Anna would have been the first and only prophetess in the New Testament part of the Bible. So what do we do? You know, why was it that Jesus came, or God brought Jesus to a lowly 14-year-old girl, poor girl? There was no big fanfare that Jesus was coming. There was nothing that happened to advertise it in sparkling lights or anything else. It's because that's what Jesus or God wanted to happen. Because I know God knew that there would be kings already on earth that would have a lot of trouble with a baby king being born. And he was right, of course. King Herod tried to get all the babies at a certain age level, the baby boys, killed. God knew exactly what he was doing. If you stop and look at it, people like the shepherds, who were probably the lowest class of the low back then, he didn't want the fanfare. He wanted us to know that God and his son Jesus is not for just the well-to-do or rich or intelligent, schooled, the priests, the Pharisees. It was for all of us. All of us need to remember. If you remember in that nativity, the nativity scene that we just saw, at first she didn't even remember what the nail was for. And was going through all the stress and the rigor and all the problems that we're having to deal with to get ready for this party she was having and making sure that everything was just right. And a little boy gives her this nail. And she finally remembers. She remembers the fact that all of this means nothing if we don't have Jesus in our heart. If your faith is not strong enough to be celebrating Jesus Christ and only all of the other things, then there's a problem. So what are some of the things we can do to remember the true meaning of Christmas? If you come over to the parsonage today, you will see there'll be lots of candles lit because I like candles and I do it for a purpose, especially this time of year. It's a reminder that when there's a candle burning, there is no darkness. It cuts through the darkness, so we have the light. Give to a meaningful cause during the Christmas season, whether it be helping hands or maybe a family that you know that needs extra or needs something. Here's one that I really like. Write a letter to your past. Look back on what you've gone through in your life and write a letter to yourself and find out just what you were and where you've come. Kind of like a testimony. Find out what it is that caused you to love Jesus Christ. Not just come on Sunday morning, but to actually have a relationship with Jesus Christ. The fourth thing is we need to keep Christmas simple. This year I've been kind of forced to keep it a lot more simple than I usually do because my wife's been gone. It's different. You have a partner to share with. Ups and downs, goods and bads, but you're sharing the same thing. You're sharing the love of Jesus Christ. Fifth, you need to read the Christmas story from the 2nd chapter of Luke. If you haven't done that lately, you should do that. It's an amazing story. It's an amazing story of hope, of love, of compassion. Not without its problems. No place to find as an inn. You have to go out and have your baby in a stable. But even through all of it, the biggest thing that you find is the gift of love from God. You need to go to church. Yes, you're here today, and I hope you're here as many days as you possibly can be here. We have a Christmas Eve service at 7 o'clock. I hope you can come. Many of us will be busy. Many of us will have family over and just can't do it. When that's the case, then please take the time. Take the time during that day sometime to talk to Jesus. As we prepare for our communion today, I will be playing Mary Did You Know, or Jeff will. We'll be playing Mary Did You Know during communion. And I will be handing out a nail to each and every one of you, and we'll say, remember. On the night of the Last Supper, Jesus took the bread, he broke it.